tie the game up 2-2. She drives out for Robbie Ryan. Her three right on the money. This is Taya Hansen for three. Other side of the rim with a pretty reverse. Wow. 5 seconds to go. Find Hawk. Hawk spins. It rolls off. And Arizona State wins it. Edward pulls off and buries the puck. Daniels takes the shot for Tempe.
Welcome into Pitchfork Lunch. Yes, I am Michael Caratinito at Diablo00 is where you can find me on Twitter. You can find the show, obviously Facebook. And guys, like I say every day, subscribe to the YouTube channel. I appreciate those that have. I forget to say that, but that's because I go too fast, and our first guest will definitely appreciate that. But subscribe to the YouTube channel. It's at M as in Michael, V as in Victory, C as in Cat 005 on YouTube. And there's a ton of interviews there that you've missed, but guess what? You can go back and watch them. I mean, you should have been watching the whole time anyway, hence being Pitchfork Lunch, my brainchild, an all ASU show. Yes, it's been a tough year in football. We're going to talk Territorial Cup with with our guest because she's coached in a few of those and got a lot of points out of those, but they are never easy. It is annoying to say it's never easy, but that is that. Football has the Cats coming up on Saturday. Volleyball, the 18th ranked Sun Devils up in Pullman today, trying to get the win against Washington State, in which they will have beaten every Pac-12 team this year. Yeah, they have a bright road ahead of them too. Hoops, they're traveling. They're in a great spot. So, yes, we'll get to all that. But joining me now is one of the coaches that tolerated me for years, being crazy and well, I won't say crazy, maybe a little bit of a bother, but let me come out to practices and obviously got to see a lot of winning hoops from this coach who kind of started her ASU career when I did. Charli Thorne joining us now here on a Pitchfork Lunch. Coach, I greatly appreciate the time, and yeah, it's an exciting time of year. I mean, anytime we're playing that team down south that's allegedly another university, you know how I feel about that. You had to be more politically correct, but
a little bit these days, yeah, a little bit.
Well, even when you were coaching, you had to be. I shouldn't say politically correct. I should say nicer, because us fans could go at it, and of course, put a little more bulletin board material on the other one's bulletin board. But Coach, hey, thanks so much for coming on. So glad to have you here on my brainchild that I know I told you about for a while, and I know.
Yeah, congratulations, great job, Michael.
Thank you. I know a little bit of a slacker because unlike you finished coaching. Well, I've had you on shows before, but first time here on Pitchfork Lunch. So you played you're a West Coast kid. You play your college hoops, just for this, small time coach, Tara Vonderveer, people may have heard about. She may have done good things. I got to ask you this, though. When you being a grad assistant at Washington, and then, when you face Stanford, facing her then, it's a little different. Head coach at NAU where you have success. But the first time when you're coaching against her at ASU, is that almost kind of like, again, a coach is, a parent figure, but it's almost kind of like taking on a parent. Like, were you a little nervous? Because I never saw you nervous, Coach. But was that first time against Tara a little nerve-wracking?
Well, the first time when we played her, I mean, we were terrible. I took over a program that had won, one conference game the year before. So I feel like every game was nerve-wracking and not hard because we just couldn't match up. By the 5th year when we were tying for Stanford for a Pac-10 championship and stuff, that was different. And that's when it really got exciting, when we had a little bit of time to build up our roster and get really competitive. But it's an interesting dynamic with Tara and I. I mean, we stay in touch till today. And, I think, I don't know if people know, but she came in after my freshman year. So she did not recruit me. And then I played for her for 3 years, which is always a little bit challenging. But, it
No
definitely
transfer portal then, right, Coach?
transfer portal there. And thank God. I mean, I think
Right.
I learned so much from her. And yeah, and it really worked out. I mean, obviously great hire by Andy Geiger back in the day. But yeah, I mean, I think, when we were terrible, she was, really, great. And then when we got good, then I think we made her a little nervous for a lot of years, but we've
Good.
always had a really positive and cordial, more than cordial relationship.
Right. And because I gotta when I look at that, Coach, too, it's kind of like I said, when the first time that you take on the coach that you played for, the coach maybe, that mentored you, it's almost like, and I reverse it for them too, because I mean, you've had that, like, they're like your kids. You want to see them succeed. So yes, you want to win, but if they beat you in that case, I mean, you're not going to be too sad.
Let me just interject. I think it just stings coaching against your friends.
Right.
Like you'd rather just coach against people you don't know or you don't like. Mostly you don't know. That's kind of harsh, but
Right.
yeah, because it's obviously they're your friends, and so that's always a little bit harder. I will share. I went to my first ever Stanford reunion in my life. It's my 35th. They have them every 5 years, and I went to practice. I went to see Stanford practice. Because I'm doing the broadcasting for Pac-12 Network, and then I'm also doing some scouting for the Mercury. So, went to practice, and it was really, really fun, because Tara allowed me to kind of just, say a few things to the team. And that was never an option until, like I really haven't had an alma mater. So it is kind of fun to,
Right.
Get to, be not the enemy to, Stanford, Washington, is an alma mater for me. So anyway, enough about that. Okay.
No, hey, like I said, I mean, if I had there are a few guests that I've had on throughout the years, and you've been one of them. I said I could have a 3-hour show just talking about all the different angles and not angles, but just the path you've been on and who you've come across. And I want to talk about that because I mean, you stepped down, you stepped down at ASU. I mean, it'd been one obviously hell of a run. You spoiled me and a lot of people for years because I know, like I said, I was in school there when you got the job, and I'm like, man, all I knew about you is you had 2 winning seasons at NAU. You played at Stanford. I'm like, if she can't turn the ship around, it is not going to be turned around for a very, very long time. And no, and obviously you had to put the work in, and you did. But I want to coaching the under 21 team, because like you said, you let our guests know. I mean, obviously you were with the Mercury last year on the bench when Nikki Blue took over as interim coach, which obviously is never fun to be interim, but
it was a bad hand, just, that she took over in the sense of the injuries and the roster situation. But I thought she did an unbelievable job.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
No, I mean, absolutely. But when you coached on those national teams, because I want to tie it into the Mercury, obviously, we on the sports arena, the other show that I do, we pretty much were saying bring home, not pretty much, we were saying, bring BG home. And we understand that when something like that happens, it's a process. Nobody's coming home in a day. But you have coached obviously internationally in Moscow. Now it's obviously a lot different going there for a tournament and playing and seeing it and Brittany's situation. And you know me, I'm not comparing your two, but I mean, just to get to be around her and the little bit that you knew, again, from coaching, when you coach a team in Moscow, just to see her attitude and positivity and growing every day. But I mean, was there anything that, you could share with her that stuff that you even talked to her about?
Well, not about my experience in Moscow. Right. I mean, when I got to help coach the USA U21 team, the tournament was in Moscow. So we were there for about 9-10 days.
Right.
And it was kind of, not friendly. Ironically, until we won the gold medal, and then we were celebrities. But up until then, it was like everybody in the buildings and around, it was just like this. Nobody smiled.
Right.
I mean, and maybe I don't, I was just like, gosh, I shouldn't say nobody, but it didn't see that was the feel,
Right.
and even when we would go tour a little bit or try to go get a meal, it wasn't a lot of mirth, just,
Yeah.
hey, and just a little bit different feel. But BG was wonderful to coach. She, I mean, I can't even imagine having gone through what she did and then, coming back. And, when you a professional athlete, it can be lonely. You go and you stay in your hotel room and, it's downtime and this and that. And I think a lot of that, I just so impressed on how she handled it all, and I think she made a couple comments after the season, like, I need to get in better shape and this and that. But I mean, what she did bring to that team, I mean, she was a constant most of the year. I mean, she had a few, she had about 3 times or so where she was out for various reasons. But, if she could go, she went and she gave us everything she had. And she's a great teammate. Even when she's struggling, she was struggling a lot and she showed up for the game that Diana scored 42 points. And, I mean, she was about ready to come back, but even still, I mean, for her, she didn't care about what people thought. She just wanted to be there for Diana Taurasi.
Right.
And so I could give a lot of examples of how impressed I was with Brittany Griner as a person.
No, absolutely. And everybody says, at some point, and the fact that, even beforehand, athletes were talking about mental health for athletes. And I know the weak, I won't say common person, but person that's not an athlete saying, oh, you're getting paid, these millions of dollars, spare me with your, mental stress, but you're not making that money if you're not performing at a level. And,
Right.
that's, but the mental health part too, like I said, and then lucky enough to be out there this year too. And, even when, like I said, she talked post game and even in her opening presser back, it's like, you could see there was a real, because people want to, obviously she wants to move on from it, but that's just, that's amount of time that you just don't move on from. And, being around when you're a coach, but being a coach, I mean, and players, everybody you've coached players, I mean, come from, different backgrounds, areas, everybody's got a different story, but to be a coach around that, how does that help you grow as a coach and even a coaching staff?
Well, that's the fun thing about coaching, right? The relationships, learning everybody's stories. I mean, basketball is so eclectic. You have people from different countries, rural, urban, suburban, all of it. And so I love that about basketball. And I think, that's one of your challenges is to get everybody, get that synergy with people from all over and learn people's stories. Those teams and those leaders that don't do that, I mean, they don't have a great culture. They're not going to have that championship culture because it's just too transactional. When you have a transactional culture, Michael, you sell out when things get hard. Yep. So, and I do think a lot of the changes going on in college athletics, I mean, some of them are good and things change, but it does really lend itself to a very pro kind of more transactional model. Right. That is, not my favorite. Right. No. I know a lot of coaches are going to stay with their values-based programs. I mean, if you can be values-based and buy players, that's the ideal. So you got to have this huge pot of money, but then also do it the way you want to do it and not just, write the biggest check.
All right. Well, let's get to that because you and I had talked a little bit, obviously, before coming on. I mean, Ray Anderson steps down. And the one thing I will say is, and I've said this to you, and I know, other coaches have said it to me. If you listen to the fans and do what they want to do, you're going to be sitting next to them very shortly because a fan is always right. A fan's always the best coach, the best GM, the best, whatever you want to say, VP of operations. The fans know all. They have no salary cap. And they have no, obviously, recruiting restrictions, Coach. They know all.
Hey, that's why sports is a multi-billion-dollar industry. You gotta take the good with the bad.
Absolutely. No,
yeah.
absolutely.
I'm all about them having their opinions. They buy the tickets.
Right. And no, and I'm all for that. I'm just saying when they say, "Oh, I could do this," and
yeah,
like
yeah.
everybody.
No. I understand, but I understand what you're saying. Yes,
Right.
and it is hard when you are doing the best you can, and
Right.
they don't really truly understand. Nobody understands each other's jobs unless they do them.
Right.
Right.
100%.
So, you walk a mile in my shoes, and then tell
Right.
me, what you would have done or what you could have done better. And I do think, especially with the social media,
Oh yeah.
on the internet, people real brave. They're real
Yes.
courageous
Oh,
about,
yes, the keyboard warriors.
being negative and knocking people down, because it's so easy to do
Right.
virtually.
And our host on the Sports Arena, Eric, who, I mean, he's in Florida and I've known him 18 years now, but we always, we have our, Twitter handles up, but he started and not that he's the first to say it, but on our show, because people, were in the comments, or people might after the show put stuff like you said, in the comment, which fine. We're all for comments, but he always says, "I'm not a hard man to find. You want to come on and talk to us? We're not going to sit there and yell at you. Like, come on and talk to us. You want to hide behind your keyboard? Well, stay behind your keyboard." But, okay, for Ray, I get, like I said, fans, unhappy about certain things. And when I say fans too, the other side to that, like you said, I mean, with the money, it's what makes it goes around. When I talked to, I talked to Willie Bloomquist, and he was, sees the challenges going to the Big 12, but, not happy. He's like, money is the root of all evil. It is important. And, as a coach, you need it. But from Ray's standpoint, like, I mean, he did bring in Willie. I know he hired Bobby. Yes, people were up in the air about, the Herm hire, saying, he's hiring his friend who hadn't coached college football. Brings in Kenny Dillingham, loses. I mean, you decide to step away. You have family, son's playing hoops, which, I mean, I was so surprised. A phenomenal hoops coach has a son that can play some ball. I was so surprised. But my point is with Ray's, with the battle as an AD, obviously you worked with him. And like I told you, it's not a bashing thing because, yeah, I cannot agree with what he does, but you're right. He has to, what's good for basketball might not be good for track. What's good for, football might not be good for hoops. Like, it is a balancing act for an athletic director. People think it's just uniform. Overall, I mean, Willie said, hey, he gave me an opportunity. He's a good man. You don't like to see it. But, I mean, the fans kind of voted, or the boosters, you could say, people started voting with their dollars because the Sun Angel Collective, after he stepped down, saw like triple the involvement. But just in your dealings with Ray, knowing what kind of a tough job it is, I mean, what are your thoughts on, how he did? And I mean, like you said, I mean, taking the social media criticism, taking all the criticism, I know it has to, you do it as a coach. I know it piles up on you after a while. It's like, is it worth it? But was he truly in a no-win situation, especially after the investigation with football?
I don't know about no-win situation, but I mean, Ray did some very good things at ASU. It's you brought up the biggest point. I mean, it doesn't matter how good you are, if the fans and the boosters aren't going to support you, you're out. I mean, look at Bruce Snyder. He went from, and I was there.
Yeah.
He went from winning every national coach of the year, every coach of the year award possible, to I think 1 or 2 years later being run out of town. And it's just, I mean, that's college athletics. And, sometimes it's the football coach, sometimes it's the AD, it just depends. But, if you don't have that support, no matter who you are and how good you've done, and I think Bruce is a great example because anybody that knew him knew he was the salt of the earth, and he was an unbelievable coach. And, and Ray Anderson has, some accolades that he can really feel proud about, in his tenure at ASU. And it was a long tenure. I mean, most ADs, we had Kevin White, who's amazing and decided he wanted to commit to women's basketball and women's athletics, and Gene Smith, amazing. And then we had Lisa Love, I had 3, great ADs, and they were just, 5 years.
Right.
Lisa might've been even a little bit shorter, 4 to 5 years. And that's kind of what they joke, I don't know, joke, but the kind of the life,
Right.
of an AD in the situation. And, I think too, I mean, he stepped down. I think, I think he's probably ready to do some other things,
Right.
different conference, different, college athletics. I mean, I think all of
Well, I
us.
know at least through next year, he's still going to teach at the law school because he was
Yeah.
doing, obviously, so he was doing that. And, and like I said, I mean, I've said on my show when I started this show, and like I told you, not everything's rainbow and unicorns. Yes, I want to talk about the positive. Yes, when they decided to have the bowl ban before the season, I know it from what I saw, and a lot of boosters and even people in the media were saying, well, Tennessee decided to just buy their way out of not going to bowls because of their violations too, which is crazy to me how that investigation was started after ASU's coach, but wrapped up before ASU's even wrapped up. So
yeah, that whole thing is bizarre.
Yeah. Well, the NCAA is all I have to say.
Yeah. I mean, and it's very political, and,
Right.
different schools get different service. I've seen that my whole career, and I mean, I'm not trying to knock the NCAA, but it is that way. I mean, people know people, and they get stuff done, or this player gets eligible, and then people don't know anybody, and it's like, well, nope, blah blah blah, can't, we're denying that request or that waiver, and it's that's the way the world is. It really is, Michael. So
it became that way. Now, and like I said, I know obviously you worked with Ray and like you said, the stint of an AD, but a lot of times if an AD wants to be there, has a goal of being there longer, which you would think one would, every time a new AD came in, I mean, do you as a community get a teeny bit nervous? Because I mean, it's just like in broadcasting, and a news director comes in a station, people are going to be like, well, they're coming in because we weren't doing good. Who are they bringing in to replace me? I mean, is there always that nerves as a coach when a new AD comes in?
I mean, I think you're always a little closest to the AD that hired you.
Right.
I mean, I maybe was a little of an exception. I had so many, I stayed longer than most, and I had, we had some great ADs, so I feel like I had good relationships with all of them, including Ray. Yeah, I mean, yes, the answer to that question is yes. I think coaches, do get a little, because, now you don't know if, you don't have a relationship with that person. And that's a little bit unnerving.
Right.
And, there has been history in college athletics where, especially in the higher profile programs, ADs come in and they want, their guy or their gal.
Right.
And so that's a thing. If anybody says it's not, they're wrong. It's a thing. But I have 100% faith in Michael Crow and Jim Rund in this process that, they're going to find, a leader, and hopefully a leader that's for everybody and that can really, roll up their sleeves and build up the collective and, just help ASU transition into the Big 12, because, from everything I know, that they've got, those schools have a lot more money than Pac-12 schools. So, for us to kind of keep up, in particular with NIL and things like that, I mean, we do have to,
Coach, I'm going to say this because you touched about, the money, like the NIL deals, and I relate it, and not just because it's football, but to the NFL. I mean, Sam Bradford, his agent, should go down in the Agent Hall of Fame because he entered the draft the last year before they started to slot. Because for a veteran to sit there and look, and not even a veteran quarterback, any veteran to say some kid that hasn't done a thing in this league is getting $50 million guaranteed, like $50 million. So now it's slotted and they structured it, and that whole mess. As a coach, you recruited very well and at a high level. But I look at it as there's no way I'm sitting there. If a kid's just sitting there talking about NIL, I would find it very hard not to be like, hey, thanks for your time, I'm moving on. Because if that's all you're focused on, like, where's the improvement to get better? And it's like, you're just going to throw this money at a kid that's supposed to be an alleged 4 or 5 star recruit.
Yeah. Well,
and then if they come in and don't perform, like,
Michael, 2 things, because I'm going to have to jump off here in a couple of minutes. I know you knew I have to leave by 12:30. Yeah, two really good points. I mean, definitely, I don't know, this whole NIL thing is, I don't know how this is going to work for these young people 10 years down the road when, they're given money they haven't really earned, because they're basing it on potential, on aptitude.
Right.
And it's I mean, the average NIL is $1,200. So, things get inflated.
Right.
And that's where the new NCAA president really wants to make it all public and make it so everybody, understands. I mean, yes, people are getting money, but it's probably not at the magnitude that, I think people lie about it, or they say different things,
Right.
Or it's distributed differently. So I think that will be good. And it's here. It's, I think, in this world, you got to be okay with a top player in the country wanting to get paid, because it's a pro model,
Right.
But you also better find out if they love their sport.
Right.
If they love their sport, how tough they are, how bad they want to win.
Right.
And you can have both. You can have both.
No, and coaches have said that, and I get that. And look, you and I have talked throughout the years, and I know you've had a lot of conversations. I'll leave it short like this, but I was never. I mean, getting a scholarship and not paying for school is one thing. Earning the school hundreds of millions of dollars in a sport, coach, I understand it. But if you're going to, Notre Dame, Stanford, USC, any Ivy League school, or Ivy League type schools, a $200,000 education, getting to leave college without no debt. Yeah, I would have raised my hand for that, And again, I'm not saying that if they're in video games. I love the Ed O'Bannon lawsuit. If I'm in a video game, I mean, the NCAA could have nipped it in the bud years ago. I'm not going to go down that route because I've gone down that route.
Alston suit got passed. So athletes get $6,000 extra a year. That's not NIL. That's just $6,000.
And to me, if
on
they would
top of everything else,
right? If it shouldn't have come to lawsuits. If you up the stipend, and I know throughout the year scholarship money, yes, has gone up, but if you up their stipends to say 2.5% every other year, I'm all for that. Because when people said pay, and I didn't have you on just because you coached a woman's sport, but people say, oh, pay the athletes. You and I know when we first talk about it, they're just talking about the big sports. I'm like, okay, guys, cool, pay them, because then you're going to be locked up in a lawsuit for 10 years. Because you have to pay everybody equally.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's gone. I mean, we just, I don't see this as being sustainable, because so much money that was going to support your 22 sports or your 26 sports is now 100%. Going right into the pockets of the athletes. And so it's a problem. It's going to be a problem.
Let me get you out here on this. Because I know you got to get going. And seriously, thank you so much. I always love your time. But and again, I'm not giving you the job, but I'm just saying, if you were approached about the AD job, being a coach, I mean, no, because we've thought about, I think about it, do I think a coach at a high level would be a good AD, because you understand both sides. And yes, now you have to be a little more, like you said, on the fundraising side. But I mean,
I was on the fundraising side as a coach.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. And I know you were, but I mean,
that was nothing. That would be nothing new. Yeah.
And again, and I told people I don't start rumors here, so no, we're not starting one. But I mean, would it be an interest? I mean, to be the AD, or is that something that now you're like, it wouldn't be the right time?
Yeah, thank you. I mean, I actually have had quite a few people, interestingly enough, reach out to me. Not the ASU leadership, but just outside people. And I do think that I could do a great job. I do think that I really understand the inner workings of an athletic department, head to toe, and that I would be for everybody. And then externally, I could be really good and raise money. Do I want to do that right now in my life? I do not. I do not want another big job. I'm loving my gigs. I'm teaching at ASU also, and enjoying things and just needing to be here for my family right now. But I do really care that we get somebody, and I'm confident that we will, that can just, move us into this next era, because it's just going to be, I think way back in the day, ADs needed to be great fundraisers. And then we sort of outsourced everything, Michael, right? So you have all these other, I don't know, AIG, whatever, all these different companies that brought in all your sponsorships and a lot of your monies. You still had to do some donor cultivation, but not as much.
Right.
And then, now you kind of hiring more like your collective people and stuff. And it's just, I mean, it's a changing model. And I do think that, it's going to take some special people to help ASU kind of catch up a little bit and make that transition to the Big 12. And I'm confident we'll get somebody good, but I appreciate, your endorsement.
My friends that said I was going to have you on, they're like, you got to ask her. I was like, of course I'm going to ask her, but it's one of the, no, like I said, it is I mean, you're
can I say one more thing?
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I do want to say one more thing because I do, obviously I'm paying attention to college athletics all the time, and
Oh, yeah.
it's my world and all my friends and stuff, and I do feel, there was this shift a while back to hiring corporate people and stuff, and getting away from hiring people that were former coaches,
100%.
that were, I mean, and Ray wasn't a coach, but he was an athlete. So I mean, just
Right.
people that had, but Kevin and Gene and Lisa all had those backgrounds, coaches and athletes. Right. And I just think that's invaluable because I don't know how you lead such a complicated organism without not really understanding it.
Yeah.
And, so just like, yeah, get your CFO from the corporate world. But if you truly want to, lead, I think successfully at a high level, then I personally don't see a lot of success, around the country in college athletics with some of these people. I mean, they might be doing it, but I don't think, it doesn't mean it's successful, right?
No,
That's
I mean,
really killing it.
and that's a great point. And I think I said it in kind of different words last week, but how can I expect to do a job if I don't know, I don't need to know every detail of what all you coaches do, but if I can't understand the basis of what you're doing, it makes it a little bit tougher to be an AD. Hey, if you need any stuff for, Pac-12, somebody backs out, hopefully you suggest somebody because
Yeah.
I love
I got you, Michael. Yeah, I mean, I'm the rookie, so I don't know how much juice I have.
You're a very accomplished, awesome rookie who's got over 500 wins as a coach. Turn this women's program around, and we'll have you back on, and we'll talk about more of the season as it goes on because I know Coach Adair, obviously, with the transfer portal, had to face a lot, after you stepped down. But she, like I said, she's always very complimentary of what you did and respects, as you know, respects what you did and the influence you had on the program. And me too, because like I said, when you turned it around, I was like, yay. I'm like, I knew she could do it.
We did it. It wasn't me. It was a lot of people, but
100%.
Thank you, Michael. And I'm actually doing their game on the Pac-12 network a week from Friday against UOP. So I don't know if you're going to that game, but
I will be there. Yes. So I will be there.
Awesome.
Of course, I will come say hi to you. Coach, thanks so much for taking the time. And we'll definitely catch up soon. And if you change your mind about AD, you got one huge supporter in your corner, right?
Appreciate it. Okay.
Thanks, Coach.
Bye-bye.
That is Charli Turner Thorne, absolute best. We're going to step aside real quick, review a lot there to digest, review a little bit of what she said, get into football, get into hoops. Happy Wednesday, day before Thanksgiving. Yeah, I'll be on tomorrow. Happy Thanksgiving, Pitchfork Lunch. It's here, but we'll step aside. More coming up here on Pitchfork Lunch. Oh, yes. Welcome back to Pitchfork Lunch. I am Michael Caratino at Diablo00 on Twitter is where you can find me and the show. Also, Facebook Live on YouTube. Subscribe to my YouTube channel at M as in Michael, V as in Victory, C as in Cat. MVC005 on YouTube, at MVC005 on YouTube. Because if you're just joining me, I'm glad you're here. But guess what? You just missed an awesome interview with former Sun Devil women's head basketball coach Charli Thorne, who's doing work for the Pac-12 network now, and also was an assistant coach on the Mercury last year after Nikki Blue took over. She came on as an interim coach, or Nikki Blue did, and then Charli Thorne came on as an assistant, and now she's doing scouting for the Mercury. So again, turned the Sun Devil women's program around into a team that, teams weren't just overlooking after a few years. I mean, she came in the 96-97 season by 2000, 2001, 2002, had it turned around. I mean, went to Elite Eights twice, went to 14 NCAA tournaments. So, I don't need to recite her resume to her when she's on. But it's always great, her mind, again, the coaching and, having success, building it, sustaining it. Again, athletic director qualities with Ray Anderson gone. But, she said right now it's obviously cares teaching at ASU. No surprise. Coaches, teachers, they can do it. But, so glad Coach Thorne came on to talk to us, or to talk to me. But it's been around the program for quite a while, and she was always gracious with her time. Like I said, I mean, I kid around, but in jest, like going out to practices, having availability for players, just getting to go out on other days and watch practice, just see things. So a lot of interesting thoughts there. Like I said, a lot to digest because this day and age as an athletic director, and the question has been asked, somebody that has the intertwinings of an athletic department that's worked in it. So yes, if they've been, an associate AD somewhere and they understand, maybe not so much a coach, but if, you are that coach that wants to get into that side, like you understand, again, not every detail of what they're doing, but you get the base of what coaches are doing. And you can build around that as to see, okay, this is going to be, this might take a little bit from this, but it adds to this. So you balance out what's good for, each program, each sporting program. But as a coach, I mean, again, you're as an AD, you're like she's saying, not the CFO, the CEO, but you're the coach of coaches. So it's having that thought and the process, you can have that open dialogue in the conversations. And like I said, we see what the collective did. I mean, it, tripled the day after, Ray Anderson stepped down. And do I think, I see it's almost like, people, I had somebody say to me, and I'm not going to say who, but because they said it's almost like the boosters acting like, a kid throwing a tantrum, like, supporting the kids in the program. Like if you would have done that before, you can be unhappy. You can still affect change in and of supporting it when it started. And like Coach said, I mean, it shouldn't be just about money just going, well, she didn't say that. I said that. But when we were talking about, straight into the athlete's pocket, like, these companies and stuff, the more success a player has, the more chance for endorsements, NIL deals. I mean, look at Caleb Williams, obviously doing, Wendy's. If you watch college football, you've seen a Caleb Williams Wendy's commercial. So like, I'm all for that. College kids should have been able to do that. Athletes should have been able to do that the whole time. Endorsement. Like if you can get endorsement, people say, oh, well, for those that say, oh, it creates, they're amateurs, or hide behind that, weak argument, or, oh, it's going to make other teammates jealous. No, if they're getting it, if they stop performing, guess what? The offers aren't going to come in. Like it's not going to be like, they're a spokesperson.Ey're going to sign like a 3-year deal or 5-year deal. Like if it's a college, it'd be like, hey, this is, okay, a 1-year deal, and they'll film stuff throughout the year. And if it goes down, and they're like companies, so from that aspect, you can understand, like the more they do, they'll have. But I mean, and it is navigating that. And Willie Bloomquist talked about it on baseball's signing day. Kenny Dillingham's talked about it, but and Coach Charli Thorne said the same thing. Like, knowing how to navigate it and fundraising, and she had to do a lot of that when she was the head coach for the women's team at ASU. But great. And like I said, and when I asked her that, I'm not saying that I think, Ray should have stayed or gone. I'm not saying that he should have stayed because, yes, it is a tough job to do. You have to understand it. And he did. And I mean, you look at the GPAs, and yes, that's on the students, but you're overseeing an athletic department where kids are graduating at a high level. Kids are, the GPAs are extremely high. So, I mean, I look at it like that, and it's yes, there are good things done, but there are other things in the handling of, you could say, oh, hiring, Herm, and then the firing, and when the if the bowl ban, if you would have, and I brought it up, and Chris Cartman had talked about it, was it was, you could have been fired, he could have been fired with cause and not got a settlement of any money, and that money that went to him could have went to basically pay the fine like Tennessee did. And look, they're not going to a bowl game anyway this year, which sucks in and of itself. But to take that off the table from the top, it's there. Look, and there's that things. And, I mean, you even look at, like I said, getting out there with fundraising, with boosters, and again, it's got to be a healthy relationship. But like I said, there's still that little percentage, guys. If you listen to fans in this, okay, so who are you getting in? So the second they don't do something that you deem thing, you're going to take your money away from the program, like having a tantrum. Again, I'm not saying they don't need to be held accountable. Do not listen. Don't just listen here. You might listen to Jimmy, but you don't hear Jimmy. You need to hear Jimmy on this. That's for you, Eric Wilson. I'm not saying that there doesn't need to be accountability and that they don't need to do it. But if you're going to sit there and take it away like a petulant child and say, okay, get this guy in. Okay, again, who's walking through the door? Yes. If you're in a spot that you are, how are you enticing somebody to come in? That's done it at a high level, that can do it here at a high level, that can, again, get everybody working as one, as a community for it. That's what I'm saying. Yes. Did Ray Anderson need to do more of that? Absolutely. Did he do it? Yes. But did it need to grow more when, the criticism starts coming in? Like Coach said, social media, I don't think they're living, their nights reading everybody's social media's love or hate for them. So, So, yeah, it'll be very interesting. I mean, who is going to be the next AD going into this, like we said, new avenue of college sports? And, it's here. It's not going anywhere. It doesn't need to be the Wild West. But, they held off so long. If they would have literally held off for one more calendar year and literally sat down and said, okay, this is the I'm not saying you put a cap on it, but okay, this is the guidelines which everybody has to follow. Every sport, every school, everybody. So yes, these companies want to get involved. Okay, the obviously legal side, the paperwork side. Yes, if a car company is doing it, somebody, get a car, rock on. It's all there, but just set the parameter. Don't make it just like, oh, we have the most money. You really need this 5-star recruit, and so-and-so's got him. Okay, so here's $250,000. To me, again, nobody's saying they shouldn't get money. And again, hear me on this. When you're getting a $200,000 education and it costs you this, yes, okay, financially it costs you this. Did you play a sport? Did you be on? Are you in the athletic department? Are you playing, football, basketball, whether baseball, volleyball? It doesn't matter. Are you bringing there, and the athletic department is bringing in crazy money? Did you? Yes, I get that. But this we get a scholarship and okay. The whole entitlement thing, I think, drives some people crazy. And that's not old school thought, old school, new school, whatever. If you don't take advantage of a $200,000 education, that's on you, because you're also getting a chance to go to a professional sport. and yes, it is football. So let's say we're talking football or basketball. Yes, you're getting a chance. And on the men's side, the women's side, obviously no football. Basketball, the money is better overseas. But the WNBA, I mean, with again, growth and expansion now, but they're talking, it's contracts need to get better. And yes, it's they need to earn it. They need to, I get all that part, but I'm just saying from the core of it needs to get better. But you have a chance, to go make millions in, if you're playing football in the NFL. On top of that, you got a $200,000 education for free. Yes. I'm not saying endorsement deals and the whole NIL, people want to do it. And if they're in video games, they should have gotten money from that years ago. And the extra 6,000 that coach was talking about too. So look, in Sun Devil country, I'm all for it. I'm just saying, yes, it was probably at that point that Ray Anderson was having a stale conversation with certain boosters. They were yes meaning, but they were, and again, it's not about, do this, getting my way. Like, you can't bring every player that you want in any sport. It doesn't, it is, they say, oh, we should have got this or that. Like, there's a lot of factors. I know all of you know that go into it, but the conversation's getting stale with the boosters. And then I told you a few weeks ago, Auburn paid out it was something like over 80 million or a ridiculous number in fired coaches, which the boosters pick. Who picks up that tab? The boosters. Boosters pick up that tab. So yeah, the universe says, okay, they're paying it. Somebody from, boosters writing checks. Here you go. Get them out. And I mean, that is obviously the fine, crazy, tough line that we're on. But again, a lot from Charli Turner Thorne there. Again, working with, like she said, Brittany Griner and all she went through, just, the attitude she showed every day, the positivity and just being there, trying to work through it. And yeah, she had to take a few mental health days and absolutely. You need that time away, no matter what job you do, stress. I mean, there are corporate people that need mental health days that should definitely, and for years I wasn't talking about, but I should definitely take them. So yeah, that was, again, awesome catching up with Charli Turner Thorne. I mean, over 500 victories. I mean, took ASU to the Elite Eight twice, took the team to the tournament 14 times, a few Sweet 16s, a few Elite Eights. She obviously left the program a lot better than she found it. And you go back-to-back winning years up at the Harvard of the Pines at NAU and do that. And she did a phenomenal job of teaching at ASU, doing stuff on the Pac-12 network. Check her out. And yes, hopefully I would get to work with her this year. That would be phenomenal. But football, Territorial Cup, kids, man, I told you, we talked about it yesterday. And this Arizona team, I will say this. I mean, they have played well. It disgusts me, as it disgusts mostly, not pretty much. I'm going to say all of Sun Devil Nation. But I mean, if we look at what they've done, I mean, they're 8-3. I know they moved up in the college football playoff rankings. Washington is at number 4 over Florida State, which still, this Ohio State thing's a joke. I mean, if they played Georgia, it wouldn't be like last year with CJ Stroud. And obviously he's proven it. He's proven it, but Ohio State, I mean, look, they're going to, when they get beat down by Michigan, which I think they should, They have no business. Like, they won't be in the Big Ten championship game. They have no business being in the college football playoff over Florida State. Still, even without Jordan Travis, and again, prayers to him and speedy recovery. Coach Dillingham touched on that. He said he had talked to his father. He had FaceTime Jordan, and he just wish nothing but the best for that kid. And like I said, hopefully he can recover, because the kid definitely had a chance to play on Sundays, and I think play well. But yeah, I mean, Ohio State, that's whatever, rabbit hole. We're going to talk about the Territorial Cup, because no need to talk about that puke. Yeah, everybody rips on Michigan's schedule playing who they did in the Big Ten, and they say out of conference. Okay, so Ohio State beat Notre Dame. Their other two non-conference, not the depth they have. And Penn State's offense, if they can't run the ball, is literally atrocious. And they both have that one in common. So I just want Michigan to pound them, absolutely just destroy them, and they have no business in the college football playoff. They don't even have a business there over Oregon. They're not better than Oregon. So, and they're definitely not better than Washington. So either way, it's very interesting. But Arizona, points per game, 32. And their opponents averaging about 20 points per game. I mean, they've rushed for 1,891 yards this season. And Coach Ward, defense coordinator, he talked about that yesterday, saying how they've run the ball a lot better this year. And I know Coach Dillingham touched on that too. I mean, they've run the ball a lot better this year. And again, when you have a redshirt freshman quarterback comes in from injury, yeah, you're going to want to stay balanced, but he proves he can definitely make all the throws. And yeah, so I mean, you look at, well, I mean, yards lost. They've rushed for 1,891, but there's been tackles for 196 yards. So on the season, they've rushed for 1,695 yards, but still very, very solid. I mean, passing wise this year, they've completed 278 of 385 passes, 9 interceptions. Their opponents, 222 of 365 passes and 4 interceptions. But I mean, it's a team that's got 4,800 yards on the season and 44 touchdowns. So their opponent's 28. I mean, it's Jonah Coleman. I mean, he's been the guy. And I mean, I know last year, yeah, I mean, he has 118 attempts for 853 yards. Well, he's lost 19, but 118 attempts. So for a net of 834 yards, 7.1 per carry, 4 rushing touchdowns for Jonah Coleman. DJ Williams also has 79 carries for 366, but lost 21. So 79 carries for 345 yards. He also has 4 rushing touchdowns. I mean, Jaden DeLora, got banged up. He had 3 rushing touchdowns. He had 21 carries for 163 yards before he went down. But yeah, Noah Fafita, he's played in 10 games. He's completed 187 to 254 passes. He does have 18 touchdowns and just 4 interceptions. Just an eyelash under 2,000 yards. He's thrown for 1,988. He'll pass 2,000 against ASU. But again, he came in and, man, it's just been on fire. And, Jaden DeLora, before he went down, he was 89 of 128, had 10 touchdowns, but has thrown 5 interceptions. But you look at their receivers. I mean, Teiroa McMillan, 69 catches for 976 yards, over 14 a catch, 9 touchdowns. Jacob Cowing, we saw what he did last year too. I mean, this year again, 74 catches, 539 yards, 10 receiving touchdowns. Tanner McLaughlin, he has 35 catches for 440 yards, 2 touchdowns. Jonah Coleman, the running back, out of the backfield, 23 receptions, 282 yards, 1 receiving touchdown. Montana Lemonius Craig, he has 3 receiving touchdowns. Michael Wiley, 26 catches, 271 yards, 4 touchdowns. Oh, and for Montana Lemonius Craig, 26 catches for him too, 282 yards, and like I said, the 3 touchdowns. So it's like Fafita spreading the ball around. Obviously, Jacob Cowing, with 10, and then McMillan with 9. But man, I mean, look, Jed Fish and the staff. I mean, they've done. Brennan Carroll, the offensive coordinator, again, just what works for seeing how, Fafita getting comfortable in the offense, and the redshirt freshman is doing it. Johnny Nansen, the defensive coordinator, has done a a good job. Again, this defense only giving up 20 points a game, and just coming off a huge victory over Utah. They beat them down in Tucson. It was 21-0 after the end. I think it was 42-18 was the final. Also, Wildcat alum Chuck Cecil is coaching the defensive backs, and heard Coach Ward talk about the 100-yard return he had in this rivalry game. So, I mean, it's look, they have done, like I said, Fafita. It'll be interesting to see what this defense can do. Again, coming off a tough performance against Oregon, who, they are very deep, as we all know. Pitchfork Lunchers, Oregon is deep, but Arizona, look, defensively, they've been getting it done too. And like I said, only give up 20 points a game. I want to say sack-wise, they have, 29 sacks on the season for 196 total yards lost. Their opponents do have 21 against them. And 29, I want to say, in the Pac-12, that actually, I think that puts them 4th. I think it puts them 4th, but I will definitely double check as. Hey, look at that, Michael Penix Jr. Real quick, side note, tangent, but leading the country in yards again, Michael Penix Jr., 36.95. Caleb Williams finished with 36.33 as SC is done. Jaden Daniels, 35.77. Bo Nix, 35.39. Cameron Ward, 34.15. Yeah. And people say, oh, Pac-12, listen to that. Yeah, the defenses are good. These quarterbacks are just really, really good. And it is the best quarterback conference in the country, top to bottom. Not even close. But yes, that is very funny to me how, yeah. And then Shedeur Sanders is in the top 10 as well, too. And we'll see if he plays this week. Yes. Oh, sacks. Did I say 4th? So it puts him 5th. I said 4th, but it it puts Arizona's 5th. UCLA still up top with 40. Oregon State did pass Utah. Oregon State has 36, Utah 31, Oregon also 31, and then Arizona, like I said, 29. ASU does have 26 on the season, puts them 8th, but they have a chance. They're only one behind Colorado and USC, so they have a chance. I mean, Fafita's tough to bring down, just like Bo Nix. So we'll see what they can do to mix it up. Maybe get them to hold the ball just that split second longer, and let the D line eat. But they could also catch Arizona in this game. So that'll be interesting to see who can keep the quarterback cleaner, his jersey cleaner. But like I said, that team down south with 29, ASU with 26. But yeah, I mean, defensively for Arizona, again, 4th in points allowed, tied for 4th with 20.6. Yards allowed, they're 5th, 344.5 yards a game. Sacks, like I said, 5th at 29. So, I mean, you look at offensively, total yards a game, Arizona 5th, 438.4. And in passing yards per game, let's see, they are 6th with 284.3 yards a game. And then rushing wise per game, they are 6th as well with 154.1 yards per game. So, yeah, I mean, look, if you can stalemate that and play coverage and stay on these receivers, I mean, that's going to be the big challenge for the Sun Devils. And yeah, so, but a big match today for volleyball before we get out of here. And Leishke Carlier and Pauline Nels named academic all-district, by the way, from the women's soccer team. Didn't want to forget that. Hats off to them. I will touch on that a little more tomorrow, give them their shine as they so rightfully deserve. Again, soccer, heck of a season. Final stretch a little tough, but again, still a heck of a season. And, the 25-5, 18th ranked Sun Devils are on the road at the Palouse today in Pullman, Washington, as they get set to take on the Cougars. And that is it's just getting started right now on the Pac-12 network. So I'm going to get out of here. Go watch it on the Pac-12 networks. Everybody have a great rest of your Wednesday. The night before Thanksgiving. Enjoy your night, whether you're going hanging out with family, getting back in town. People have been known to have a few sodas on this day, or this night. But enjoy the day. I will see you tomorrow. And have a great rest of your Wednesday. And fans, go watch again right now. ASU. Want to thank Charli Turner Thorne for coming on the show. If you missed it, again, subscribe to the YouTube at M as in Michael, V as in Victory, C as in Cat 005. On YouTube. Subscribe. And you can see her interview along with all the other interviews that I've had with coaches and players here on Pitchfork Lunch as we just get this rolling. So thank you to Coach Thorne for that. Thanks for checking it out. I will see you tomorrow. And yes, Sun Devil Nation, you know it. As always, forks up.
His shot. They score. They tie the game up 2-2. As he drives out for Robbie Ryan. Her 3 right on the money. This is Thea Hansen for 3. Other side of the rim with a pretty reverse. Wow. 5